Hello guys, let's talk about drugs of biological origin and let's talk about the concept of pharmacology. Pharmacognosis. Now, I'm going to answer questions from my notes. So I just brought out these subjective questions from my notes and I'm going to provide solutions to them. Now, the first question here says the word pharmacognosis came from the Greek word. Can I still remember? The Greek word is pharmakon. Comes from the Greek word pharmakon and kignosko. Pharmakon meaning drug, and then kignosko meaning to acquire knowledge. So we can say pharmacognosis deals with acquisition of knowledge about drug, okay, to acquire knowledge. So that is that for that question. Next, drugs that are obtained by extraction are known as they are known as unorganized drugs. They are obtained by extraction, unorganized drugs. Plant taxonomy is governed by the ICNB, which was replaced by ICN. Plant taxonomy can be defined as the identification. It is with the identification, classification, and naming of plants and plant drugs and naming of plants. Okay. Morphological classification is based on the use of Latin name. True or false? False. Morphological classification is the one that classifies drugs into two, which are organized and unorganized. So morphological classification is based on the properties of the drugs, like how they are morphologically, the forms of the drugs. And the two forms are either organized drugs or what? Unorganized drugs. Okay? They are either organized or unorganized. Now, the next question. The name Linus in Mater Peperita, Linus, denotes genus. Now, the name Linus means, this is false. Linus means the author of the drug, not the genus. This is the genus, Meta. Peperita is the species, and then Linus is the author, which in most cases is often abbreviated as L. Now, morphological classification is based on the use of Latin name. We've talked about this before. That is false. Which of them is based on the use of Latin name? Latin name is alphabetical, which is vernacular or Latin name. Alphabetical classification. Now the next, pharmacy is the science of drug. Pharmacy is the science of drug making. Now it deals with the procurement, okay, the production first, dispensing. Then we now talk about procurement, then storage and conversion of drugs, into suitable dosage form, The determination of the nature of disease is called diagnosis. Crude drugs are... What are crude drugs? Okay, crude drugs are the simplest form of drugs. Now my mind. They are the simplest form of drugs which comprises of plants and animals and their parts which after collection and only subjected to dry. So those are crude drugs. To dry, not to drug. Sources of crude drugs are, now crude drugs can either be purely synthetic, or we can have the drugs of biological origin. Drugs of biological origin. The scope of pharmacognosis. First of all, it mainly deals with plants and its constituents. You can say it mainly deals with plant and its constituents or constituents of plants, but there are few animal products, or we can say it deals with plant products, or we can say they deals with plant products, but there are few animal products. I don't want to go into the next. There are few animal products also that are studied in pharmacognosis. Animal products, which include honey, beeswax, wool fat, etc. Okay. Then number 2, it deals with other natural products such as antibiotic and hormones. Then it deals with products that have no therapeutic effect or pharmacological effect, but are important to the study of pharmacognosis, like those ones that are important to the study of pharmacognosis, like drug formulation. We have the disintegrant, emulsifier, the bulking agent, the flavoring agents. All those ones are classified here. Then it deals with materials that has natural connection with pharmacognosis, like hallucinogenic pesticide, insecticide, etc. Then another one is it is related to chemistry. The branch that is related to chemistry is called phytochemistry. Then another thing is that it is related to botany, talking about taxonomy, plant description, and tissue culture. Related to botany, that's why I talk about plant description, tissue culture, and taxonomy. Then another thing is that what other thing again? Formulation of of drugs and also quality control procedures. So all these are the scope of pharmacognosis. I don't know. There are some of them that I may not have put in the right way, but at least this is how I know them. I'm trying as much as possible to regurgitate everything from my brain without looking at the material. So the plant contains two types of constituents, which are, we have primary constituents or metabolites, primary constituents or metabolites, and then we have the secondary constituents or metabolites. Okay, now primary constituents are mainly present in plants and may not exude any therapeutic effects. True. Examples of primary constituents are amino acids and carbohydrates. Those are examples of primary constituents. Secondary metabolites are produced as a result of stress, whether biotic or abiotic. That is true. All drugs are secondary metabolites. True. All drugs are secondary metabolites. Vegetable drugs can be arranged for the purpose of study into alphabetical, this has to do with either Latin or vernacular, and it helps for quick reference, like the ones that we have in our pharmacopoeias. Those are arranged in alphabetical order. Then we have morphological, talking about organized and unorganized, organized/unorganized. Then we have taxonomy, talking about the different category like genera, species, the class, the family, etc. Then we have what other way? Chemical biogenesis. And then we have therapeutic effects. According to the therapeutic effect, like, is it anti-cancer, anti-malaria, or anti-hypertensive? So all those ones, they are the way drugs can be arranged for the purpose of studies. Now, morphologically, drugs are classified into organized and unorganized. They are categorized into organized and unorganized. Dash drugs have rigid cellular structure and are specific parts of plants and animals. Organized drugs. They have rigid cellular structures, are specific they are specific parts of plants and animals. Okay? Now, I think this is the last question. Give the characteristics of organized drugs. Characteristics of organized drugs. 1, they have rigid cellular structure. Like the stomata, etc. They have all these trichomes and the rest. Now, number 2, they are specific part of plant. They are specific parts of plants and animals. They can be studied microscopically. I'm going to use MC for microscopically. Microscopically by their longitudinal and transverse section. And then finally, They are mostly solids. They are mostly solid. Characteristics of unorganized drugs. They do not have, they are just like the opposite. They do not have rigid cellular structure. They are specific plants. They are not specific parts of plants. They are gotten from extraction. Tinctures from parts of plants. From the parts of plants and animals. And then they can be studied. Using their organoleptic characteristics, such as they can be studied using organoleptic characteristics such as solubility, texture, sensory characteristics, etc. And then finally, talking about the nature of them, we said they are talking about, okay, we say they are mostly solid here. So these ones, they are solids, semi-solids, and they can be liquid also. Examples are tannins, anthraquinose, alkaloids, etc. All are unorganized drugs. So that is basically that for this session. Thank you for your time. So I was able to is it reciprocate? Oh, sorry. I was able to reproduce all that I studied under this Aladis part. I just studied it, so as time goes on, I'm going to forget a year. But I just like to play around with this. So that is basically that for this session. Okay, thank you.